So the first thing we're gonna do to update our Ledger Nano S is we're gonna go to the site. You can make a quick Google search and always make sure that you're on an HTTPS site and that you're in the right site. And from here, we're gonna go to the downloads page and we're gonna be using this. This is Ledger Live. It's the application to manage your ledger. And you can download it for Mac, for Windows, Linux, for iOS, and for Android. So you can also have it in your phone. So we're gonna download it. So after you download it, if you're on a Mac, you're gonna be required to copy the application into the applications folder. And if you're not using the administrator or the super user, you're gonna be required to authenticate. Once you finish copying the application, you're gonna be able to find it in the launcher and open it. So in this case, I already had the app installed, so I already created a password. But if it's the first time, you're gonna be asked to create a password, and just make sure that you create a strong password. Now, after you enter your password, you can see here that this is the main Ledger Live interface. So I'm going to minimize this so it won't confuse you. And you can open the manager, add account, install or uninstall apps. Right now, we're going to connect our Ledger Nano. I like to keep it in the box. So first thing we're going to do, as you know, is we will connect the cable. It's going to ask for the PIN code, so we're going to enter our PIN code. We're going to click here and it's going to ask for you to connect and unlock your Ledger device. And now from the Ledger, it's going to ask us if we want to allow the app to access the manager. So we're going to click on yes. And that will allow the app to access the Ledger. And now as you can see here, we don't have apps installed. So the first thing we're going to do is, since there is a firmware update, we're going to update it. So we are about to install the firmware version 1.5.5. The firmware that we're installing, just to make sure that we're installing the correct software or the correct firmware in the Ledger, it's going to ask us to verify the identifier that we can see here in the screen in the device. So we're going to compare if it's the same. And as you can see here is a version 1.5.5. This is the identifier 0Z36F07. So we are going to accept. And now we're going to enter our PIN code again. Once we entered our PIN code, you're going to see that it asks to follow the device instructions on the page. So the first thing it's going to ask is to disconnect. And now we're going to press the left button and connect it while we're pressing it until the bootloader appears. So now we are updating. So now the firmware of the device has been updated and it's asking for our PIN code. So we're going to access it again. And as you can see now, it's asking to install some apps because we have no apps at the moment. So we go again to the process of connecting the device to the Ledger Live application. Once again, it's asking us to allow Ledger Manager. And now we're going to install the apps that we need. So I'm going to install Bitcoin. And now I'm going to install Ethereum. You can install all these other apps if you want to store these cryptocurrencies. But for now, we're going to leave it with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So now, as you can see here, we already have the Bitcoin and the Ethereum apps installed in the Ledger. And now your firmware has been updated.